Hello, hi Rajiv ji, Kamal from merasangeet.com and a warm welcome to you once again on Chat in Chai.
हाय कमल जी, प्रणाम। कैसी हैं आप?
प्रणाम राजीव जी, मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ और आप कैसे हैं? क्या खबर है अब लेटेस्ट इमिग्रेशन फ्रंट पर? हमारे बहुत से लिसनर्स आई एम श्योर दे वुड बी रियली वांटिंग टू नो मोर ऑन दैट.
As we have discussed many times before, I'll quickly sum up. Bottom line is nothing is really happening, but things have gotten a little bit more complicated than they were before. Previously, we had a split between the Democrats and the Republicans on how to approach immigration. There's not too much division in the two parties about legal immigration reform, except for some people like Senator Sessions, Jeff Sessions, who's pretty powerful and he is against all kinds of immigration. Other than that, most Republicans and most Democrats agree about the legal immigration reform. What is the main problem areas are what to do with the undocumented people and what to do with border security. Border security enforcement, these are Republican issues, very big on them, and they have made that a condition precedent to everything. Previously, we had a ideological split between the parties on these issues. Now, within the Republican Party, there is a split. So things have gotten even more complicated. Right now, we are struggling with passing the budget for Department of Homeland Security. And if we don't pass, I think it's Feb 27th is the last date, they'll run out of money. Combine that with the developments in the Middle East where, people are being burnt alive. We can't really afford to be without proper Homeland Security umbrella protection. So obviously, it's important for both parties to pass the Homeland Security budget, but they are stuck with these ideological differences. What has happened is House has passed the budget, but they have attached some immigration riders on the budget which negate everything that Obama has done with executive order. So they are trying to overrule Obama. When the bill got to the Senate, Democrats in the Senate refused to let the bill pass. So the options are quite limited. Either the bill can be sent back and House can remove those riders and send it back for Senate, or they can try to break away some people in the Senate from the Democratic side and try to pass the bill that way. None of them are really good options. It's a very suspenseful time, not a good time, but absolutely for comprehensive immigration reform, it's worse than before. I don't see any hope for comprehensive immigration reform in the near future.
Anyways, okay. Rajiv ji, we do have some queries here sent in by our listeners. Let's see if they find any positive answers. The first one here is from a listener who says his friend would be traveling to the United States and then back. He says, how does a traveler normally revalidate a visa without their I-94?
That does not make any sense. That question is without any context or without any real understanding of the law. I'm not sure you folks understand what you're asking me. Let me assume, and maybe I'm making an ass of myself by assuming, but I think what you're asking me is this. See, understand the difference between visa and I-94. What happens is, in order for somebody to take a plane or a ship or a car and land or show up at the US border, you need a visa, which is a stamp on your passport given by the State Department. Okay, so that is what a visa is. Visa is a permission given by the State Department acting through the US consulate, and it's a permission for you to land at the airport or show up at the border. At the border, it is decided how long you may stay. Different visas have different normal times attached to them. Typical for a B1 is about 90 days. Typical for a B2 or B1, B2 mixture is about 6 months. The I-94 is basically the evidence of permission given at the airport or at the border by the authorities. Who is the authority there? Customs and Border Protection. CBP, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security, gives you permission. Once you enter the USA, if you want to extend your stay, and we almost always recommend not to do that. I have a bunch of videos on this on immigration.com, as well as frequently asked questions and blog entries. You can also go to our YouTube channel and look up the videos there. We advise never to get extensions of your stay in the United States. So if you want to get an extension, you have to go to another department called USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, which is also a part of Homeland Security. So there are 3 departments involved. One, to make you land at the airport, which is the visa, State Department, US consulates. At the airport, CBP decides how long you may stay. Once you're inside USA, USCIS can extend your stay. Now, let's say you have a 10-year visa. That does not mean you can stay in USA for 10 years. That simply means you can take a plane to the United States anytime in those 10 years. Even if you land on one day before your visa is expiring, you can be given 6 months stay in the United States. I hope that makes it clear.
Absolutely, I hope so too, Rajivji. The next query here is from another listener who says that he is on H1B visa in a company, and he says he's getting better offers from another company. So he says if he switches over to the another company, the better one, which he feels it is, would his H1 be valid, or would his new employer have to file it all over again for him?
H1 transfer requires pretty much the same paperwork all over again. So your new employer would have to go through an H1 process, but you will not be subject to the quota, okay? Because there is always a chance that the H1 transfer may be denied, I would recommend two things. One, file your H1 transfer premium processing, which means it gets adjudicated within a few weeks instead of a few months. And second, do not join the new employer. Under the law, you can join the new employer once you have a receipt of your filing, okay? And there's a little debate about that as well, but let's leave it at that. The most conservative viewpoint is you can join them once you have a receipt. But if your H1 is denied, you will then be out of status, okay? So what we want you to do is file premium processing and request the new employer to wait for the actual approval before you join them. Because if you have not yet joined them and the transfer is denied, your current status with your current employer continues.
Okay. It's a dicey situation otherwise, Rajivji. A person would be nowhere.
There is never any guarantee that the H1 will be approved. So be careful. I mean, if it were somebody from my own family or my friend, that's what I would advise.
All right, okay. The final question here, Rajivji, from a listener who says he has his I-140 approved under EB3 category. He says, can he change it to the EB2 category?
I probably deal with this question almost once every day. And the answer is yes, if you qualify. And how do you qualify? If you either have a 4-year degree or a 3+2 degree or a master's degree. If you have a 4-year degree or a 3+2 degree, you must have 5 years of progressively responsible post-degree experience. If you have a master's degree from USA or a 3+3 degree from India like MCA, you can qualify without experience. So EB2, if you qualify for EB2, your employer, this one or the next one you join, will have to redo your green card, but the priority date of the old case will be transferred to the new case.
Okay. Rajesh, in some cases in India, like we have a 3+2 years degree, like the graduation for 3 years, if you were to graduate in humanities or commerce, you do a 3 years and then you further do a 2 years post-grad. In this case, if a person supposedly has this degree, can he again, apply for the change of status like the listener here?
Kamalji, let me preface everything by saying your lawyers need to make a living. We like to eat. We need our bread and butter. So thank God the laws are so complicated, nobody can keep track of them. Okay? The interesting thing is a 3+2 combo would be acceptable for a BS+5 type situation. For EB2, it would be acceptable. For EB3, it will not be accepted. So depending on what you're trying to do, that might work or might not work. But for H1, it's no problem. The requirements for a green card.
All right. So Rajivji, these were the queries sent in by our listeners. Thank you so much for the elaborate discussion on the immigration bill also, and for answering all the queries. Thank you so much for all your time as well. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.